plead innocent of all charges.
Talk about the good times with Talking Elvis.
Welcome to episode 27 of Talking Elvis, the podcast. Not been around for a bit, so we've got some good news and we've got some bad news. I've missed a few weeks. Life just gets in the way. This podcast for me and Ian is just a bit of fun. We're not setting the world on fire with the business here. So yeah, we've just found at the minute trying to get a show every week is a little bit too much hard work. Don't want to do stuff for the sake of it. And post-lockdown, my real job has gone a bit crazy. So trying to find the time has been a little bit weird. So what I intend to do from now is we're going to go to a monthly special. Let's try and put one out on the first of the month, no matter what day of the week it is. We'll put one out on the first of the month. And maybe if it's a bumper one, great, but it gives us a chance to get some interviews and stuff in and some more of our wonderful top fives. So I hope you enjoyed those. But in the meantime, there are plenty of other podcasts there doing top-notch stuff for you. So check these guys out.
Hi guys, this is Jamie Kay from the Jungle Room podcast, and you're listening to Vince Wright and Ian Gray on the Talking Elvis podcast.
I'm Justin Gosman.
And I'm Gertie Bladar from the TCB cast.
And you're listening to the Talking Elvis podcast. It's a hot time in Florida.
Rainy night in Georgia.
So I've got one together this week. Bit special for me again here. Do you remember the names Bilko, Doberman, Henshaw, Barbella, Fender? Yeah? If it does, you know Bilko. You know the Phil Silvers show. And we've all loved this over the years. CBS Classic 50s, so it's got nostalgia going for it. It's got the Elvis world. Bilko had Colonel Hall. Obviously, Elvis had Colonel Parker. Bilko had Joan Hogan. Well, Elvis had anybody he wanted, to be honest. Okay, so why devote a show to this guy? Famous in the 50s, we know classic movies, other movies in the 60s. And we got the Carry On film. We got Carry On, Follow That Camel, which I love to bits because I like my Carry Ons anyway. Even his appearances in Happy Days, love it. So the lovely nostalgia feel that I wanted for this show. But the real connection is an episode of the show called Rock and Roll Rookie. Now, if you've never seen this, it's available on the DVD. You can get it on YouTube in really tatty quality, but you know, that's the world you're in. That's great. Well, I've been a big fan of this show for years, and I recently caught up with Steve Everitt at the Phil Silvers Museum to learn a little bit more about it.
Is it live?
No, not at all. No, this is absolutely recorded, and it probably won't go out for a couple of weeks yet. So I'll edit it, not to make you look stupid. I'll edit it very nicely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do have the power to make people look stupid, but no, it's not what I do. No, I love playing it, editing and stuff, so it'll seem seamless. My guest tonight is Steve Everitt. Never heard of him. I can hear you saying yes, but he is what do we call this? I forgot what your title is. Is it co-founder?
Well, it depends which one you're talking about. If you're talking about the Appreciation Society, we are co-founders.
Yeah. So everybody out there in TV land knows Bilko. Everybody's heard of Bilko. Everybody's a love it or hate it. Everybody's heard of Top Cat, Carry On, Follow That Camel. It's a mad world was on the telly this weekend. So yes. Everybody should know who Phil Silvers is. And you run, bizarrely, in Coventry, England, not America, you run the only Phil Silvers Museum. Is that correct?
That's correct, yes. So we started, we've had 35 years of collecting now. So we started way back in 1981, and we were watching Bilko when it was on the BBC, and I decided to launch an Appreciation Society. That was launched officially in 1984, 1985 with Phil Silver's blessing. So he gave his blessing for the society to be formed. It's been in Coventry now for 35 years, and our dream was to launch a museum, which we did on November the 1st, 2015 in Fargo Village. So we've come on leaps and bounds during this lockdown. We've had a major revamp of the museum, and touch wood, we're going from strength to strength. We had just come out of a very, very busy weekend with lots
fantastic.
of visitors from as far as Southend-on-Sea, Wolverhampton, Nottingham, everywhere. So
Brilliant.
it's all.
And I went up just after you reopened after lockdown, and it was an amazing little afternoon. It had got everything there, and even the other things in the area make it worth going. And there's still a load I've got to see, isn't it? I've still got to go to the Scar Museum and everything.
Yeah,
so I've got to come back again. No, you've got me.
Yeah, I mean, you spent quite a bit of time there, didn't you, Vince? But bear in mind that Tim Vine, bless him, he spent 2 hours in the museum when we were smaller. So yeah. I know he's gagging, time permitting, and he's gagging.
It's brilliant. I mean, it is. You feel like I don't want to take all your time up, but you're such an interesting fella because you know the stuff. Because I can just say it, and you'll go, it's in the cupboard on the top left over there.
Yeah,
right? Yeah. It's in the glass cabinet over there. So to have the guided tour with you as well is well worth it. And they should be queuing up round the block for you tomorrow.
It's an absolute pleasure to be able to do what we can do. I mean, 35 years ago, we would never have dreamt that we would have had a museum dedicated to Phil Silvers. We've had a 35-year relationship with his family now. They trust us implicitly, and it's very humbling to know that they've got 100% trust in what we're doing, and to do it as a day job. And I can now say that I'm a curator, and
that's the dream, isn't it?
It is. It's and as you alluded to earlier, not everybody knows who Phil Silvers is, and having the shop and the museum now for the last 5 years, you get people coming to the shop of a certain age that have never seen a Laurel and Hardy film.
Oh, that is scary, isn't it?
Scratch your head and think, like, how can this be? You surely you must have seen it at some point in your life. And we get this with Bilko. People, even older people, will come into the museum and say, well, we're too young to remember watching Bilko. And then you tell them that it was on the BBC for 47 years and they only stopped showing it in 2004. It was the longest running repeated American sitcom that the BBC ever had. And why they dropped it is still now to this day a complete mystery. And
it makes no sense.
Back on, BBC 4. Come on, BBC 4. It would be ideal to get that show. Because, Steve, we've got this, whole lost generation that haven't really been exposed to classic comedy.
Well, that's it. My argument is funny's funny, and you can't deny this. This is, like you say, watching a Tom and Jerry cartoon. You can argue about the violence, but it's cartoon violence. But funny's funny, and that's
funny,
just brilliant.
Funny is funny, yeah. Now Phil Silvers, he was a bit of a perfectionist. And he used to say to the show's creator, because obviously they were on a very tight budget, in the mid-50s when they were making Bilko. And Phil used to say to Nat Hiken, that was a good scene, but could we do it over? And Nat Hiken would say, no, they came, they saw, they laughed, because it was a live audience. Leave it alone, leave well enough alone. It's fine as it is. So, the first season is peppered full of mistakes and people, missing their cues and stuff, but it all adds to that special spontaneous magic that
it's a live buzz, isn't it?
A live New York show, yeah. It was the stepping stone between vaudeville and burlesque, and it was the next step up the ladder for a lot of the performers. Worked in vaudeville and burlesque, and then work with Phil on the Bilko show. He brought a lot of his friends and contemporary artists into the Bilko show.
Oh yes, there was. I've recently bought the box set from you, again because I had a real dodgy old knockoff version from years ago. So it's lovely to be watching these properly and seeing Zippo doing his thing again properly.
Yes,
that's right. But the reason I got you on here was the Elvis connection. I'd obviously, when you were talking about early 80s watching Bilko on the telly, I was doing the same, and I'd heard of this episode that was a mocking version of Elvis joining the army, and I'd never seen it. I had no transcripts. And then one, 10:30 showing or whatever it was, I recorded it, and I had it, and that was the thing. And it was Rock and Roll Rookie.
Yeah, Rock and Roll Rookie from, I believe, 1957. And I think you said to me when you were in the museum that it did it predate Elvis's big success?
Yeah, that's the wonderful thing, because I hadn't really clocked that, because he's you think, well, you're 21 in 56, so you're going to get called up. They do the pre-induction January 57. This show, as far as I can see, was broadcast March 57.
Yeah.
So they did this one where it's what would happen if Elvis was drafted. So it's ahead of its time, and it's done beautifully. I mean, how long did a show take to put together? Did they record it the week before, or was it in the can for ages?
It might have been in the can for a few weeks, to be honest with you. They generally filmed a 23, 24-minute episode in about an hour. Before a live audience. So, because when you told me that, I thought I naturally, and after 35 years of doing all this research, naturally presumed that Rock and Roll Rookie came after Elvis's big success, because obviously Phil, at the start of the episode, there's a great thing where he does the round suede combat boots. And,
that is perfect, isn't it? Yes, Carl Perkins doesn't get a single credit on that one where he should, but yes. But again, like you say, you can watch it on YouTube. It is a great little parody. And then they do another parody in there of Love Me Tender, where he sings how he loves the troops.
yes.
And they do this Love Me Tender, which is an old Civil War song, so public domain, they can do what they like with that one, can't they? And then they treat that one as a We Love You, Bilko and all that. So we loved the way that this did the show lovingly. The guy that played him, great big gormless southern gent, I suppose.
I think, drawing on my memory, I think his name was John Gilson.
Tom Gilson was, Tom.
Tom,
that was it, yeah.
Yes.
So he was about a year older than Elvis at the time.
Yeah, and he passed away not long after. So I think he had, from what I've read over the years, bit of a troubled personal life.
Did he?
Yeah, and he died very young. So I mean, I don't think it was probably a few years after Rock and Roll Rookie. So yeah, quite what a sad story. But he, I think he played him to Elvin to perfection, and it was a good.
Isn't that a great name, isn't it? Elvin Pelvin.
Yeah. Pelvin.
So who would have been behind this? Would have been the script writers. Would Phil Silvers have had much input in the writing, or?
Phil always lamented that he in his later life that he never did enough writing. Obviously, he wrote the Frank Sinatra classic "Nancy with a Laughing Face," but I think it was Phil's show, so I think he could have any input that he wanted.
Yeah, he had lived as much as he wanted.
That icon to steer the stories and the scripts. I know that Phil was the only one allowed to ad lib on his show. Other cast members could make suggestions, but Phil had the final say. But he had sort of total confidence in Nat Hiken's writing style, because Phil was warned off from doing television when CBS approached him in 1955 for a television show, which obviously eventually would be Bilko. Jack Benny, his close friend, warned him off and told him to stay on the stage because you have dignity on the stage. Television is very cutthroat, and Phil sort of heeded those words to an extent, but he wasn't working the way he wanted to work, and he hadn't found, the success that all comedians, hanker after.
Yeah.
And then I think it was Hubble Robertson Jr., Vice President of CBS, contacted him, said,
he
look,
convinced him.
we're going to put you with Nat Hiken, and that was it. That sold Phil. When he heard those two words, Nat Hiken, the most fertile.
So what was his pedigree before this then, Nat Hiken?
Nat Hiken, he worked on the Martha Race show. He worked on the Fred Allen radio show.
Oh, that's good.
Again, he had a very short life. He passed away in 1968 under sad circumstances as well. And he just finished a big screen motion picture with Don Knotts, who was in It's a Mad, Mad, Mad World with called The Love God in 1968. So
I don't know that.
Last thing he ever did. So one wonders what else he would have, a bit like Rod Serling, what he was taken far too soon. What these guys contributed after, into the 70s. But yeah.
Oh, fantastic. And I think that, I'm not sure, but I have a vague memory of another episode of Bilko, and I haven't come across it watching them yet. But when he's doing his usual flirting with Mrs. Hall, he say something like, "We're going to lose you to Elvis Presley" or something.
He does
at some point, and I can't remember what episode that was.
There's actually quite a few episodes where he alludes to Elvis. Phil would pick up on a lot of the big successes of the day, that ran when the Bilko show was on. So Elvis, Marilyn Monroe, Betty Grable.
Lovely stuff.
He had a few. I'm sure they were ad libs as well.
Yes, I think that
he had a few digs at Jackie Gleason, who was also on CBS doing The Honeymooners. He even had little digs at CBS themselves, who were obviously financing his show, and it was an expensive show to produce in the day. So but Phil had the charm and the courage to get away with saying virtually anything he wanted to, because his character was at the end of the day he was a rogue, but he was a lovable rogue. So you could never really dislike him.
Yeah.
Obviously, he basically perfected this persona over years and years of working in vaudeville and Broadway and burlesque.
He always looked after the underdog in the end, though, didn't he?
He did, yes.
Yeah.
He said he never won unless he deserved to win, and and like all good con men, if his plans failed, like they often did, he would just pick himself up, dust himself down, and go on to the next get rich quick scheme. So it couldn't have been done with anybody else.
No.
And when Nat Hiken, CBS put them in an office together and said, "Look, come up with a TV situation comedy." And the first idea that Nat Hiken had was a finagling sergeant in the U.S. Army, and Nat was a great thinker but a lousy speaker, so he didn't convey what he was trying to say to Phil, and Phil could just see Abbott and Costello, pratfalls, pants falling down, that sort of routine. He couldn't see the sophisticated humour that Bilko is and still is today, that Nat was trying to get across.
There must have been pages of dialogue.
Oh, yeah. So they toyed around with a racetrack tout, a cab driver, a Turkish bath attendant, all these things. And nothing really sort of hit home with Phil. But then he was sitting down one day thinking about his past career. And Nat was talking about this Ernie Bilko, this US Army, Master Army Sergeant. And it all fell into place for Phil. And it's one of the few shows it's one of the only shows that I know that you watch the first episode, which is New Recruits 1955, and you've got Corporal Burbella knocking on Bilko's door because he's inside having a game of cards with the other sergeants. And he opens the door, and there's this fully formed character. It's not like, most shows, you've got a pilot show, and you've got to get used to the characters. But Bilko, Phil Silvers comes out as Bilko, and he is Bilko.
And you get what you get, don't you, straight away?
Yeah, right from the off, and right until the final episode, 4 years later, he just played this part to perfection.
Oh, brilliant. It really is an amazing show. I bought it on DVD and on various Time Life discs over the years, and it's lovely to have the whole set with all the documentaries and everything again there. Are they still available?
Yes, we
Have
have
you
the
still
box
got some
set
of those?
always available in the museum.
All
All
right,
the proceeds go to the upkeep of the museum.
lovely.
But it's a passing of time. I say to people in the museum, well, if you've not seen a Bilko for a couple of years, go and watch one because they're 65 years old. 65 years old. That's older
That's
than
it.
me.
Yeah, yeah,
10
that's
years old.
crikey.
10 years older than me. But it's still the show to go to if you want some belly laughs, you want sophisticated comedy, you want the writing in Nat Hiken has never ever been bettered, which is why you've got people like Larry David and Vince Gilligan from Breaking Bad all citing Nat Hiken as a major
I've not
influence on
heard
their.
that. I didn't know that. Oh, that's good.
Yeah, yeah.
On Breaking Bad. There's another show I could talk about for hours on end. That's good. And what I thought was interesting when I got to the museum and I mentioned my Elvis connection, straight away you said, "How about the Vegas concert '56?"
Mhm.
And I'd forgotten all about it. So we know that the new Frontier Hotel in Vegas, Elvis did a show that didn't go down well. It wasn't the right crowd. It was the wine and diners, not the teeny boppers. So it was a bit weird there with the Freddie Martin Orchestra. But on the May 6th, 56, he introduces people in the audience, including Phil Silvers. Now, is that Phil Silvers we hear
Yeah,
shouting? It really
yeah.
is, isn't it?
I've got some member kindly sent to me years ago on audio cassette, and basically, if I remember it right, I haven't listened to it for a while, but Elvis dedicates Blue Suede Shoes to
That's it.
Mr. Ray Bolger
That's
of
it.
Wizard of Oz and Mr. Phil Silvers, and yes, you hear he does his distinctive
He does
Bilko
the he
bark.
does the shout. I'm not even going to attempt it, but he
You
does
can
it.
you can picture it in your mind, but to have it, I wish it had been filmed because
Oh
to have
yeah.
seen that, you know,
Well,
would
the,
have
the
been.
weirdest thing is this film of his time, Elvis's time in Vegas, where he's with Liberace. So
Right.
there was stuff going on at the time, and it is just one of those. Is somebody sitting on a can, propping the piano up, and it's that lost footage thing again, isn't it?
Yeah.
But what would Phil Silvers have been doing in Vegas then? Was he making a movie? Sort of what would that be?
Uh,
May
if it
56?
was 56, he could have been on the Ed Sullivan show. Ed invited him and some of the Bilko cast on, and they did like a live episode on
Yeah,
stage. Um, but I guess Phil did quite a few engagements in Las Vegas, but
yeah.
it's a dangerous place for Phil, Las Vegas, being a compulsive gambler. It
Oh,
was, yeah,
dear.
it was not a good place for him to be really. Unless he was performing. If you could catch him performing and catch him with the roulette wheel, he
Yeah.
might have more pounds in his pocket. But
Yeah, he could have done his own museum. Yeah.
yes,
Oh, that's brilliant. And I love the idea of that and all that sort of the fact that he dedicates sort of blue suede shoes to them, and then you get brown suede combat boots a year later. It's payback the other way. It's such a bizarre little connection. And then we even had a range of Elvis bootlegs on the Bilko label and the Fort Baxter. Somebody was a fan,
yes.
uh,
And
deep
that
down.
was more investigation because someone sent us a couple of CDs for the museum. But yes, it would be interesting to find out what the connection is and who the fan was and why they thought that they'd put the names on the label. But
Yeah,
yeah, very
but a
interesting.
but a perfect little connection. Well, I love little weird little things like this. So I think for everybody out there, if you go to season 2, episode 23, if you haven't seen Rock and Roll Rookie, what's wrong with you? If you haven't seen any of them, oh, which one do we
Shame.
recommend? Which one do we recommend?
Um, I would say any episode from the first season.
Yeah,
Um, the chimpanzee one, where Zippy, that was Phil's favourite episode, the
I
court
love
martial.
love the court
Um,
martial so
yeah,
much.
she saw was the first episode that I ever watched, and that was that was a plot device that was really borrowed later on by John Sullivan for Only Fools and Horses. I think it also appeared in Porridge with Ronnie Barker. These are all great. These people were all influenced by Phil Silvers. Eric Morecambe was very much influenced by Phil, and they were big fans of each other. So, but yeah, you can really dip into any episode from the first season, and if you don't enjoy it, you better check to see if you've got a heartbeat.
Yes, yeah, we'll get we got an ambulance waiting by. I shall have to come up and have another visit because I think the Doberman shirts are next.
Excellent. We're working on a new design at the moment as well. I don't know if I told you about it. We're working on a Emma and Ritzik shirt.
Oh, that's really nice because that's really, you've got to be in the know to get that one, haven't you?
Yes, yeah. The tagline is going to be "Stay away from him, Rupert."
Yeah. Oh yes. Oh that is a really good one, and I like those in the catering things you were doing the other day, how to peel potatoes.
Yes, that's also going to be a mug design. I might do a T-shirt. I had a really good reaction to the mug design, and it wasn't my design. It came from one of our supporters in Ireland.
Oh, great.
Southern Ireland. So he sent over the artwork, and I thought, well, that sounds good. I'll punt it out there and see if there's any interest in it, and there was. So we've got a few new bits of merchandise up.
Oh, lovely. And have you had any luck with those the magazines that you were trying to get from that collector?
Well, from yesterday.
Yeah.
Yeah, I messaged him and he said, "Yeah, I'll make me an offer." And then obviously I explained to him that I actually wrote that letter to the member.
Yeah.
I think it was a teacher called A.R. Taylor. I don't know if he's still around. And then he messaged back and said, "Oh, I didn't realise it was you." He said, so I bought the whole lot for 20 quid, plus postage. So yeah, obviously we've got all the masters in the museum, and we can reproduce them, and I probably will do at some stage. But I just think it's nice that we get these because they form a nice display. But they were actually sent out, in the mid-80s to members.
So I've never seen one, so I don't know what the format was or anything.
It was just a little A5.
Was it like a rag mag? The ragweed.
Yeah, like a little college thing. Yeah. But obviously, it was the days before we were inundated with technology, so it's it's old school cut and paste, and yeah.
Yes, you've been through the different generations of this, haven't you? This is lovely because now it's people just imagine, oh yeah, I got a website, no trouble.
Yeah, they're all like, oh well, how do we join? And it's like, well, just join the Facebook group now.
Yeah.
Obviously, in the olden days, it was like send out a membership form, send in a check, get cash, send out a membership card, send out a Fort Baxter journal. So it was.
Well, you'll have to have some on, available to look, like a laminated reprint or something, because I've never seen one.
We've also got the option to make them all available online as well, so that you can, as files, so you can download them.
Oh yeah, that's a good idea. Oh, I like that. Yes.
But I'm old school. I like magazines. I like to be able to get hold of I like something coming through the post.
If a website does an interview with somebody that interests me, I still print it off and sit on the settee and read it. I don't just want to sit for hours on end reading a 10-page interview online. I print it out, and it's great because it feels like a book then, doesn't it?
It does. Like DVDs and Blu-rays, I'd like to buy a box set. Well, people say, "Oh, you can watch all the, watch Bilko on YouTube," and we can, but the quality's that they're taken off TV Land recordings, MeTV recordings. By the box set, you've got like 62 hours of Phil Silvers. Complain if you want. Your hard drive's not going to fail. Got it there. You're paying for it. You get a nice booklet with it, and you've got something tangible.
I think that's the kids today don't own. They don't buy records. They don't buy they don't keep anything, they don't collect. There isn't that sort of obsessive, I need it all like we have.
Yeah, I suppose they're not so engaged with having a hobby these days, are they? There's so much out there in the digital world to
Yeah.
keep them occupied, and we're going to sound really old now, but
Yeah.
but they've got very short attention spans. I'm like, TikTok. I thought, oh, what's all this TikTok about? And I looked at it, and it's for people who've got an attention span of about 4
It
seconds.
is. You're a proper goldfish, aren't you?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh no, it's not for me. Big is beautiful, proper collections, and that's why I wanted to do this. I want to give you a big push because I can, but I really wanted to sort of the Elvis connection here is just a bit of one that's never really played with, but I think we can have a bit of fun with it. We're not looking for amazing technical details. Yeah, that'll be great. Well, thanks for your time there. I think that's just wonderful. So we're telling everybody to come and see you. What is it? Best ring up to see when you're open at the moment, or
Yeah, the best way to do it at the moment is because we're about to launch into Coventry's about to launch into Heritage Open Days in September the 11th. It starts, so we'll be having quite a few visitors down. You can just turn up, but if you want to book, the best way to do it is to go on to Facebook, search the Phil Silvers Archival Museum, hit the call button, or message me, and we can book you in. We're open. Now, next week we're open. Well, from the September the 11th, we're open the whole week because it's the
brilliant.
But we are our normal opening hours currently are Wednesday right through to Sunday, 10 till 4 and 11 till 4 on a Sunday. But any other day of the week when we're closed, if you contact me, I can arrange for the museum to be open. So we don't turn people away. If they want to come on a Monday, they're more than welcome.
It's great. You have a coffee round the corner and a chat there for hours. Yes. I love it to bits. All sorts of costumes, scripts, toys, games, records, everything's there, isn't it? Brilliant.
Yeah, we've got some more stuff arriving as well. One of Phil's daughters, she's alluded to what it is, and I think we've got 2 original scripts in the museum from Mickey Freeman, who played Zimmerman.
Yes.
But we might, fingers crossed, the next few weeks, we might be getting one of Phil's personal Bilko scripts.
Wow. Oh well, I should be back there for that then. Yeah. You'll have to have security guards next, won't you? Yes. Lovely. Well, thanks very much for your time. This is my favourite little thing. I love Bilko. I love the nostalgia. I love the Elvis connection. I like Carry On films. It's just a great place to be. So thank you for coming along tonight.
Thank you.
And if you haven't listened, listen soon. Thanks very much. I'll see you later.
Thanks. Okay, bye.
There you go. Take a listen to your 50s Vegas recordings. Here, Bilko in the audience there. Always reminds me the shouting and the chanting that Bilko did in his military style, and you get get a decent version of Pope Saladani and hear Elvis go, I learned that in the army. I always think that was his little Bilko bit. So very good. Watch Rock and Roll Rookie. Watch Happy Days. Go on, it's worth it. You deserve it. And don't forget, sing along with brown suede combat boots. And as Bilko would say, we're going to rock, we're going to roll. Bring it in.
A little more conversation with TalkingElvis.co.uk.
So that's great. Thanks, Steve. Thanks, Ernie. Watch this space for more news, and we'll see you all again real soon. Bye now.